Before our introduction to the workshops with Big Loop Theatre Company, we were provided with a fable, illustrating how human behaviour itself is theatre. And when we came to the session, we explored this in more depth and were able to observe and take part in creating theatre, simply by being human. For example, we began by playing games, moving around the room, and directing each other in storytelling, using only the phrases yes and make it more beautiful. As well as being a fun exercise that resulted in a lot of creativity, it also showed how every story can be, or already is, theatre. Through these sessions, we've explored many different ways of creating performances through play, but this session was perhaps the most honest representation of that goal, as we were asked to be like children, forgetting all our preconceptions of objects. Pick one and just play. This involved exploring the object with all of our senses, with no idea what it should be used for, and really not caring, but just taking time to make discoveries, as the other half of the class made an audience. As the actor, I found the situation extremely relaxing because I did not put any pressure on myself to perform, I was just playing. When interacting with other people on stage, I did become slightly more concerned with acting, as selfish, overexcited characteristics of children were presented. However, it remained different to any performance I previously experienced. When I became the spectator, I was surprised by how much the creative and playful spirits captured me. This session was an excellent way to introduce Big Loop and what is meant by the idea of play and discovery. The sessions that followed were less concerned with the childlike aspect that we previously explored, but were still centred on playing. The readings we were provided with discussed how theatre is interpreted in different cultures and what the best ways are to attempt to capture the truth of the human condition. For example, could be from more westernised psychological ideals, or the Eastern physical and metaphysical inclinations. This informed the session on movement that Big Loop led, helping us to explore how each body moves differently and learning to move together with the performers. The next reading looked at different ways to defy the norms in the creation of stories, and consider all the options that are available to writers, rather than just one formula. And this was the basis of our session on improvised script writing. We played games to create a flow of ideas. For example, two people having a conversation using only questions until they can't think of any more. This showed the way a story can develop and move in an unexpected direction, but it was also incredibly difficult and really pushed us to think creatively. During this workshop, we were told to write consistently for 2 minutes. First, a train of thought, which turned into a monologue and then a dialogue. This was an extremely informative exercise that surprised everyone who thought they had nothing to write about or no way of doing it. Finally, we read about imagination and improvisation, which was the basis for our next 2 sessions. We discussed people becoming afraid to use their imagination for fear of being termed insane, how people become uncomfortable with their own bodies, minds, and language because they may be viewed as obscene, and how the originality is dead once you worry about having to be original. These were vital lessons for learning to improvise without constraints on imagination. And by combining this with exercises such as conversing in gibberish and identifying each character's strange personality traits, we began to understand how to effectively use imagination and to improvise. Our final session was the culmination of what we had explored in workshops, as well as our own ideas, to form an improvised party full of characters we had created. The task of interacting with these exceptional characters while still crafting my own was challenging, but could not have been possible, and certainly would not have been fun without Big Loop's input. An attitude of discovery and play is essential to create original and honest work that becomes as much fun to create and perform as it is for an audience to experience.